Formula One isn't just tweaking the edges anymore, it's being flipped inside out. The latest push from F1 boss Stefano Domenicali feels less like evolution and more like a forced makeover. Reverse grids? More sprint races? Shorter race weekends? That's not just a suggestion list, that's a fundamental rewrite of how this sport has functioned for decades. And while it might sound exciting on paper, it's causing serious friction with both fans and drivers who believe F1 is slowly selling its soul in the name of entertainment. Let's start with the reverse grid idea. Imagine qualifying first, earning pole position through pure skill and setup, only to be told you'll be starting 10th because the show needs spicing up. That's the proposal Domenicali is floating. He claims that since Formula 2 has reverse grids and it adds unpredictability, why not bring that same chaos to the pinnacle of motorsport? But that logic falls flat when you consider the complexity, stakes, and technical margins in Formula 1. These aren't rookies learning their craft, these are elite athletes with million-dollar machinery battling for tenths of a second. Artificially mixing them up for a spectacle feels like turning chess into bumper cars. Now here's the kicker. Domenicali says some drivers are warming up to the idea. He even claims Max Verstappen, who once openly trashed sprint races and gimmicky formats, has changed his stance after a dinner conversation in Austria. Supposedly, 18 drivers who were against the sprint format before are now in favor. Sounds like a drastic overnight change, right? Almost too drastic. It makes you wonder what's really shifting their opinions, genuine excitement or behind-the-scenes pressure from team bosses and commercial interests? Because let's be honest, F1's sudden obsession with change isn't coming from within the paddock, it's being driven by outside forces with dollar signs in their eyes. Promoters, sponsors, and broadcasters are all demanding more action, and by action, they don't mean strategy battles, pit stop mind games, or tire degradation drama. They mean instant, highlight-worthy overtakes and unpredictable finishes, and so we're now talking about not just adding more sprint races, but possibly having one every weekend. That's right, 24 sprint races in a 24-race season. Domenicali has floated that number out loud, and even if it's not happening tomorrow, the fact that it's on the table says a lot about where we're headed. But here's what fans and drivers alike are struggling to digest. Sprint races were originally introduced as a fun bonus, a little twist to add some variety. Now it's being treated like the main course. The danger in making sprints too frequent is simple. It dilutes the uniqueness of Grand Prix Sundays. If everything becomes a race, then nothing feels special. We start caring less about tire strategy, less about long-term car setup, and more about quick stabs at track position. And in a sport that prides itself on detail, preparation, and precision, that's a slippery slope. The truth is, this shift isn't really about the racing at all. It's about catering to short attention spans. Domenicali himself said young people find 90-minute races too long, so the logic is cut race time, cut practice sessions, and insert more exciting moments. But in doing so, you're chopping out the very layers that make Formula One such a strategic, rewarding sport to follow. And while new fans might enjoy the fast-paced highlights, longtime followers are left wondering what happened to the chess game they fell in love with. One of the most controversial elements in this overhaul is the growing disdain toward free practice sessions. According to Domenicali, they're boring, outdated, and not delivering the kind of engagement fans supposedly want. His solution? Axe or heavily reduce them in favor of more competitive sessions. That may sound thrilling on the surface, but if you understand how an F1 weekend works, you know how dangerous that idea is. Free practice isn't just filler, it's the foundation. It's where engineers gather data, test upgrades, fine-tune setups, and give drivers the time they need to understand the track. Without that, you're sending a $400 million zero-cents operation into a race weekend half blind. Then there's the proposal to shorten races altogether, not just more sprints, but actually shrinking Grand Prix distance itself. That's where things get messy. Long races aren't just about endurance, they're about strategy, patience, and risk. You get undercuts, overcuts, tire degradation, fuel management, weather impacts, and late race drama that only comes when you've been battling for 70 laps. Cut that down to 30 or 40 laps, and what's left? A glorified sprint with no time time for chess-like moves or evolving race narratives. Formula One isn't meant to be a TikTok video, it's a novel, not a headline. And let's talk about what's driving this avalanche of change. Money. It's no secret that Formula One has exploded in popularity over the past few years. New markets, new sponsors, Drive to Survive, celebrity endorsements, and packed street circuits from Miami to Vegas. The sport has become a cultural moment, but that growth comes with strings attached. Investors want returns, promoters want packed grandstands, broadcasters want highlight reels, and in all of that noise, the drivers, arguably the most important stakeholders, are being treated more like characters in a show than elite competitors in a sport. Take Max Verstappen, for example. He's spoken out multiple times about his frustration with the sprint format, calling it meaningless and unnecessary. Yet here we are, being told he's suddenly changed his tune after one private conversation. That kind of flip raises eyebrows. Either drivers are being subtly pressured behind closed doors, or their opinions are being selectively interpreted to fit a growing narrative. And if someone as dominant and vocal as Max is being drowned out by corporate momentum, what chance does anyone else on the grid have? And then you have George Russell, who made perhaps the most intelligent critique of reverse grid so far. He said that putting the fastest car in 10th doesn't create overtakes, it creates traffic jams. Why? Because the car in 9th is almost as fast, and the car in 8th isn't far off either. What you end up with is a line of cars stuck behind each other with nowhere to go. It's called a DRS train, and it kills racing. And with DRS being phased out soon, these trains won't even have an escape hatch. No more pressing a button for easy overtakes, just pure manual driving, stuck in formation. The heart of the issue is this: Formula One is losing its identity. What was once a delicate blend of speed, strategy, engineering brilliance, and human grit is slowly turning into a flashy, made-for-TV product that prioritizes optics over substance. When every decision starts revolving around audience retention metrics and highlight reel potential, the purity of the sport gets chipped away bit by bit. This isn't a nostalgia trip clinging to the past, it's a warning. Yes, F1 has to evolve, but evolution doesn't mean abandoning the core values that made it special. Turning the sport into a spectacle at the expense of its competitive integrity is not evolution, it's dilution. Sprint races, reverse grids, shorter main events, and axing practice sessions may boost short-term numbers, but they risk long-term damage to the sport's credibility. Once you cross the line into manufactured drama, it's hard to go back. Drivers aren't reality show contestants. They're not props for corporate showbiz. They're athletes, engineers in their own right, risking everything at 300 km/h while managing tire wear, fuel loads, and team strategies with split-second precision. Strip away the conditions that allow that brilliance to shine, like full-length races, strategic depth, and meaningful qualifying, and you're left with hollow entertainment that looks like F1 but doesn't feel like it. And the fans? They're not clueless, scrolling zombies with no attention span. Sure, the younger generation consumes content differently, but that doesn't mean they lack depth or appreciation for complexity. Give them a reason to care and they'll sit through every lap, every pit stop, every slow build-up to a final lap showdown. It's not about shortening the product, it's about making the product engaging on its own terms. What makes F1 captivating isn't just overtakes or crashes, it's the buildup. It's watching a tire strategy unfold over 40 laps. It's knowing that a driver nursing medium tires through brutal heat might steal a podium if a late safety car comes out. It's about tension, not constant action. When you remove the room for that kind of nuance, the sport becomes shallow, and fans, especially the loyal ones, can feel the shift. Then there's the disconnect between what promoters want and what the sport needs. Yes, organizers are pushing for more sprints, less practice, and more entertainment. Why? Because more sessions with stakes mean more ticket sales, more broadcast rights, and more advertising dollars. But just because promoters have money on the line doesn't mean their vision aligns with the best version of the sport. Their job is to sell the seats. The FIA's job is to protect the competition. Right now, it feels like those roles are getting blurred, and that's dangerous. Ironically, the same changes that are meant to attract casual fans may end up pushing away the diehards, the ones who watch every session, support struggling teams, and actually understand the nuance. And once those fans walk away, what's left? A crowd that treats the sport like a trending hashtag. Here today, gone tomorrow. Formula One is at a crossroads. Does it want to chase short-term hype or build long-term loyalty? Does it want to be a serious sport or a content machine? There's still time to course correct to strike a balance between entertainment and competition. But that window is closing fast. If the people in charge keep treating tradition like dead weight and feedback like noise, then one day we'll all wake up and realize F1 isn't F1 anymore. It'll be something else entirely. Faster, louder, flashier, but ultimately emptier. And by then, it might be too late to get it back.